Beautiful soul. This is my channel. Welcome to it. And this is our end of days. And that's a DAZ. As usual, when continuous streaming footage, I literally just woke up and I'm going to try to make a video before the library closes. So, yeah. I didn't really have a plan for this video. I know I promised some big things. And there were some things I wanted to do. Like to kind of explain, the last few days I had been basically, I guess to a lesser extent, but traveling with a partner, like on the streets. And usually I'm just by myself. I did kind of have another partner before, but it was always like sketchy, I guess. Like it's one of those things where I'm starting to learn, you guys. Like, I think this is probably going to be more of a event session than maybe dispensing wisdom, like observations and stuff too. You know, it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating being here, you guys. Being on my own personal journey and everything. I'm getting to see myself a lot more clearly with patterns and everything, and there's this clash between certain things where I really like to give. Giving's fun, you guys. I know it's going to return to me too. Like when we give freely from the heart with no expectations, things really move. It really changes things. I've experienced it time and time again. Um, it's that kind of attitude which has, at least in my life, brought me a lot of peace. Um, Along with other things too. Like I always say, doing the work is really important, you guys. But a part of doing the work ends up creating this dynamic where you want to give, you want to give back, you want to give forward. You know, um, and that's kind of where I'm at with my situation because there's another part of this where it's seen as a I'm trying to think of the right terms here. Like an identity. And from a certain lens of perspective, I could absolutely see it that way. Usually, this stuff is like formed in childhood and everything, and it's complicated. You guys, if you're into that kind of stuff, makes more sense between the mother and the father, and then your family dynamic, and then everything that's in there. Um, oh, sorry, I got a tooth thing going on here. If my mouth's doing weird things there. Uh, yeah, and so I don't know how to say this, but it's just like I've done a lot of work. I don't need to be the giver. All right, it's not an identity. I don't need to be recognized for what I give. I'm not crying for help. It's more like an overflowing of my cup, like most of the time. I can't say all of the time, okay? And that was why it was really interesting traveling with a partner again, like on the streets. I really began to see how um, I still had stuff to heal for sure. But I was better than I'd ever been before, you guys. Better than I'd ever been before. And I think that's part of the process too, is just constant improvement. Even if it's just a little bit every day. And sometimes that constant improvement is resting. You know, um, I get the feeling from what I've heard and what I've experienced for myself, uh, acting in alignment with the flow of things is so much better than just grinding, just constant grinding. If you know what I mean. And by grinding, I mean forcing. not necessarily behavior, but like forcing. I'm sorry, you guys. I just woke up, man. This is like I probably should stretch and everything. I really just woke up and started talking, um, and it's you know, it was fast. Talk about the limited partnership. It was for a few days, and it was very nice. I believe for both of us. One of the things that I've noticed here is that people believe that they can control things that they cannot. Like, in the way that I really see it, control is an illusion. Like, especially over other people. Like, no matter what kind of psychology we have, no matter how in depth we are, yeah, there's ways to try and manipulate particular aspects of consciousness, maybe going along with identity and all of those things. Um, but that's almost what the beauty of all of this is the more that we do the work, the less that those triggers, the less that those kind of things have any sway over us. And sometimes it takes time, like, of course, it's a process, you guys. But anybody can do it. Like, anyone can do it. And as we become more coherent, within our mind, within our thoughts, as those triggers and those insecurities are felt, it's an ironic thing, but they need to be felt in order to be released. Because when there's this resistance to feeling them, it's almost like we're low key or sometimes high key, feeling them all the time, but just like in the background. And shit, that who wants to live that way, you guys? Uh, Plus, on the side note, when, at least for me, that I've noticed, when I've really done the work, gotten to a good place, more coherence, my manifestations seem to be a lot better. I have a lot more peace, and I've focused on peace too. Like, peace is so important, guys. You know, uh, it's the name of Jesus, right? The Prince of Peace, and uh, makes a light yoke. Using those terminologies and everything, and that it applies to so much too. Like, that's why I think a lot of the Bible has been hidden. There's certain aspects of it which are not, that were omitted. Is the best way for me to say it. And the prospect wasn't to worship Jesus, okay, as a man, all right, as a man God, whatever you want to call that. It was to show that it's possible for humanity to have this kind of relationship with, the greater God. That anybody and everyone is actually intended to have this kind of relationship with the greater God. Um, I'm probably, maybe people would think it's a realist kind of a thing. I know a lot of people take the Bible literally, and who knows? Maybe it is. I'm okay with not knowing. Like I live in possibility. You guys, is the best way for me to say it. And I have gotten more from the Bible when it is taken as metaphor. When a lot of the actions that Jesus does and a lot of the things that he says, it's more metaphorical. But that doesn't disempower it, that makes it more powerful. It makes it more meaningful. It makes it more applicable to our daily lives. And it's not just like I feel like Christianity, if anything, it's been turned into this front for like a diseased element, I guess, is like what it says, like an element that's needing, I guess, is the best way to put it. That's probably a better way to put it. Like this very hungry need for something. And so the only way it knew how to try to do that is through control. Now, and this is why there is never any peace with trying to control things, situations, external things, especially, people, like, and even to a certain extent, ourselves, as an individual. Like, if I'm trying to control myself, then, or even if I'm not even trying to control myself, if I'm controlling myself, it is, I don't know, I'm just going to be, blunt. It's not fun, and essentially what happens, myself rebels against it. All right. Causes inconsistencies and patterns and things. It makes it so that, it's not like, if there's like a remote control, right, and then I'm able to operate something, it's like the buttons don't work all the time. It's like the joystick doesn't necessarily, operate. I push it this way, and then the situation is not happening how I want it to. And I would offer that when, as individuals, when we feel that way, when we're trying to control things to such an extent, what it's really meaning is that we are seeking that peace, we are seeking that safety. Um, Otherwise, why would we want to control things? All right, you know, directing things to a certain extent is okay, but like, there's a huge difference between directing one's life and controlling one's life. Controlling is sterile. All right, there's no life in control. Um, and there's just certain patterns and everything which are more controlling. I don't want to get into too much politics and the other things here, but just like when Jesus flipped the tables, to me, it was like, such a such a disgrace. All right, such a disgrace. Like, the best way for me to put it, and maybe there's a better way to put it too, but here we are. Like, okay, I'm gonna be honest here. All right. And I could be mistaken. Maybe there's avenues where it could be okay, explaining, spiritual stuff. All right, truly spiritual stuff, which means looking for the truth. All right, and finding it. Asking deep questions and getting meaningful answers. This is what religion is here for. All right, religion is essentially, from my opinion, all right, that's all that it is. Religion is like a map, and it was written by maybe a particular person, doesn't matter, but it's a particular story point, and that religion frames certain questions from that lens. And so, I share, I don't know, the opinion that, every religion, every true religion, is kind of right, because essentially what happened is one person, or people, group of people, whatever, one story point, one lens, achieved communion with, like, what is God, the one absolute. All right, really began to understand it. And yes, like, from my opinion, no matter how enlightened we get, no matter how, close to God we get, we can always get closer. We can always learn more. All right, there's always greater depth and greater width and greater height to all of it. All right, this is what it means for expansion. Uh, yeah, and that, naturally, that's why, I feel like it's on that kind of level of expansion, spiritual expansion. It's supposed to be constant. It's supposed to be infinite. All right, and it looks different in the physical world every time. It's when we mistake, that spiritual advancement, that spiritual growth, into material growth. Like, that is when things become potentially toxic. Like, if I think, like, this is why I can have peace being homeless. This is why I can have, still faith and enjoy myself, being able to take a nap and not be so worried about things because I don't really need a lot. I don't need a lot to be close to God. Like, uh, but I'm also still growing. And so what I'm also beginning to see is that, yes, I don't need a lot. I absolutely don't need a lot. And it's great that I've been here. But how would I use a bunch of either things, influence, or stuff responsibly? You know, like in one way, I'd love to just, remain under the radar. I wouldn't even like to be making these videos, maybe. I didn't even want to make this video, to be honest. However, I want to challenge myself. Like, in that challenging myself to expand spiritually is part of the reason for me being here. Like, and if people here think I'm resilient in some ways, that's why. I am dedicated to growing spiritually every moment, every single moment. Um, Part of that is, developing like a pattern. Everyone has their own way of everything. I'm not going to necessarily reveal my pattern of spiritual growth in this particular video. I mean, we're already at what, 16 minutes, 16:11. But yeah, guys. Just on a side note, it's interesting just talking with other individuals. Going with this partner was very interesting, and I feel like a lot of what happens here that I've experienced is people tend to have a friend, and they project themselves as an ideal version of what they believe the other person wants them to be, or is asking for, or is needing. And as time goes by, if it's a mask, the mask ends up slipping. Uh, I do like I'm not necessarily what is it called? I'm not necessarily devoid of it. I still have some of those patterns for sure. But to me, being authentic, being genuine, so important, so important. Um, and what I've noticed too in partnership, I'm so much better than I used to be. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. And I still honor the other person. Um, Super important. Like that's how any partnership group, anything should be. Like if we, in my opinion, right, we need to afford other individuals what we would like to be afforded. Like to me, it's simple. It's simple math, man. Like this is why it kind of it confused me for a long time. And maybe there's something else, an element to it. I don't want to just be too dismissive here per se, but it's almost just what I would almost kind of sense like a either ignorance or I don't want to call it laziness because it's just like if people understood that doing the work is so worth it, like it is so worth it. It makes you more resilient. It gives you access to emotions again. Like I see so many people who are just in all walks of life. All right, I see so many people in all walks of life who are just like shut in emotionally, and like again, my opinion, this is why our bodies end up dying. All right, this is why we end up living these trunicated lives. I think I'm using the word correctly, but this limited life that wasn't meant to be that limited, and it can be. Things are adaptable, but I'm along the lines of maybe I'm a little bit too extreme, but I believe that our physical bodies could last a lot longer, have almost an eternal lifespan, an eternal health. All right, aging doesn't have to happen the way that it does. And I think the majority of it, there might be stuff with outside influences, but the way that I've been shown is that the world is internal before it's external. So that we are creating the world through our internal lens, and that this is why spirituality is essentially so important. and doing the work is so important because religion ends up coloring that internal lens, and then that creates our perceived reality. And in a big way, this can either empower us or it can rob us of our power. And it goes into even deeper things. I would know 2020, man. Yeah, 2020 vision, man. Because my favorite interpretations for certain religions are this paradox where it's about releasing control. It's ultimately about releasing control. In Buddhism, I would call these attachments. It's about releasing attachments. Um, the ironic thing is, or maybe the poetic thing, is preferences aren't attachments. A preference is just like, oh, yeah, I'd like to have this. I prefer to have this kind of experience. I'm not attached to it. If something else happens, that's maybe even wonderful. Uh, and this is also what I mean. Uh, that's what I like about a lot of Christianity too, where when we talk about faith in God, this is having that kind of reckless abandon. All right, where it's like, I'm going to aim, right? I prefer this reality, or I prefer going in this direction and having these set of circumstances. And if something else ends up happening, this is God's will. So I'm cool with it, and I'm down to explore it. And the more that we interact with this internal lens and this story, the more that we are able to essentially, like in a very real way, interact with God. And everybody's capable of this. Any person is capable of this. And this is what's hard for me being here on the streets and everything, is like I feel like I was brought here for a reason, and I want to show people this. I don't manifest a lot because part of it is I still have work to do. Um, a huge part is I feel like I'm here to show people things. And sometimes it comes in weird ways. Like I would have never planned this out, as an individual consciously. But God had other plans, you guys. And I think I'm here to sometimes, not all the time, but show people that judging prematurely is not a good thing. All right. And this also has to do with what I was talking about before, like the whole concept of control. Like when we're trying to control things, we want to label people, we want to label them, their consciousness, which is essentially impossible if you ask me. And wounded, traumatized consciousness can seem to be more labeled. All right. Like, okay, I'll do this and it will trigger this reaction. Right. Um, they have an anxious attachment style, they'll act in this way. They are afraid of abandonment, they'll act this way. And so if I push these buttons, or I act in this way, or I say these things, then it will get people to do this to me. And then I can get this from them. And it's, I'm sorry, you guys, like, to me, it's a rotten way to live. Like, it's not that I'm judging people for going that way. We do the best with what we can, with what we have. But this is also why I think I'm here, is that there is a better way. All right. Like, and I think I surprised some people here. Um, if anything, I want people to have the life that they want to live. Because I hear so many complaints about, oh, this happened to me, this is why I had to do this, and it's just like they're so removed from their own lives. They're not seeing that the story that they are weaving for themselves is the same thing that they're doing to other people. Like, this is why it's so important. When I allow things to be, when I allow things to flow, when I allow myself to flow, when I allow others to just be, I'm allowing myself to be too. Like, if I'm controlling others, manipulating others, like in a very real way, not just in the cosmic way, not just in the interrelated way where everybody's one, everybody's the same, but in an individual way, based on how the mind works. What we give unto others is the precedent in what we're giving to ourselves, and there's a reason for this. I mean, everything starts to make sense when you do the work. Everything starts to make more sense too. And yeah, there's always more questions. Yeah, there's always more deeper mysteries to explore. But that's also part of the allure, is that life is this eternal mystery, and it's not about figuring it all out. At the same time, the mystery and joy is being unraveled. And I see that too. I absolutely see that too, you guys. Um, I just think it's attachment to either one. You know, all right, there's a Buddhist roots coming out in me. That's probably more than enough. Ah, man, 255. Oh, you guys, yeah. I would probably like a place, but I'm just working on it, you guys. I don't know what I want. I don't really know what I want. I don't know what God wants for me. I'm doing my best to listen. Right, making these videos helps me. So there we go, you guys. Almost 30 minutes. I wasn't planning on making the video that long, but it is what it is, right? And I got somewhere to I got somewhere to be too. Just just dynamics, you guys. Interesting. I don't want to get too much into it, but just religion's a very interesting thing, and I don't know if I can ever belong to any religion in particular. I It's just like I have a personal relationship with God. I believe everybody does, and we can model that personal relationship after a particular lens. All right, like Christianity or Buddhism or anything. All right. Um, I'm less versed in other religions, so I don't want to speak when I have no real authority on the subject. And if I ever do, I'll try to mention it too. Like, and this is part of my premise too, is that I'm very honest. I'm very forward. I don't reveal everything about myself, uh, but I don't need to. All right, like if people want to begin to believe that they know me, or have me totally typecast, or however you want to say it, right? Um, that's on them, and they're really looking at themselves. They've really put themselves in a box, and that's how I feel about the situation. Is that I really do truly want to help people, not because of some internal issue where I got to fix people, everything's got to be better. It's God, all right. Like the more connected to God that we become, we begin to see that the sense of separation is only skin deep. And so all of these people who are not aware that we are living like with God right now, like it is painful. All right. And there's people who are acting in contrary to God. All right. And it's part of the process. Like there's certain ways to say it and everything. I'm From my stance, it's just something that we had to go through. Like the story that I'm weaving for myself is that as an emerging consciousness, we had to experience, like, metaphorically speaking, the dark depths. All right, you guys. Like we had to experience really horrible shit. If I'm just going to be completely honest, we had to experience things which should never have been, that were unfair, that were painful, that were traumatic, and everybody's gone through that. Like anybody who's an emerging consciousness goes through something which is just horrid. And what I found for myself was that it can potentially be bottomless. When one hits bottom, all right, when in the depths of despair, in the most blackest, horriblest, place that you can think of. The worst thing to do is to stay there. The worst thing to do is to keep recreating that, because that's what it is. And so it increases trauma, yeah, and everything, but it's like it's rehashing that wound, and it just festers and bleeds, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. Now, maybe there's other stuff going on. Uh, Maybe there's some, what is it called? What is it called? Maybe there's some truth to some of the things that I hear, because if anything, like, God, all right, someone doing their thing. God can only take so much. And so the consciousnesses, because God is like love, you guys, God is the source of consciousness. And so what I see is going on, if we're going to take this through the lens of Christianity, the end times are the times where people are connecting to God. People are waking up. People are recommuning and having a personal relationship with God. And there are going to be other people who cannot. And so the divide is going to increase. It's going to get wider. And it is what it is. Like, God needs a break. All right, God's been carrying a lot of unconsciousness. And the way I kind of see it comes in cycles, okay? And so, and I have stories that I'd like to weave here too, that'll help explain it better. Because, speaking in metaphor, you guys, speaking in story, it's how we communicate, like, as human beings, if you ask me. But maybe we'll leave it at that, all right? I know I say that a lot. And now we're over 30 minutes. Holy crap, I hope I can post this, you guys. Maybe not today. So you'll see this tomorrow, which will be today for you. Funny how time works, right? But yeah, I gotta get going. Wish I could talk longer. I'm messing with stuff, you guys. I don't know what I want to do here. I don't know if I could be a live streamer, like, especially doing what I'm doing right now. But I kind of want to too. It would just be I know the people around me would not want to be a part of the live stream. Like, is the best way for me to say it. Some individuals like to operate in the shadows, and it's where they're comfortable, I just want to be that example too, where walking into the light, it takes courage. It absolutely takes courage. We start to see our inner wounds. We start to see and feel, all right, and feel those wounds. And judgments and things that we took on to ourselves, like stepping into the light initially, like the real light, all right, honest, natural light, all right, not the false light. Everything's really nuanced, you guys. But stepping into that natural light is really painful at first. But I've, it's, as one does it more and more and more, it's a process, you guys, and the pain feels good. The pain ends up feeling good, because you know that things are getting better, because you know that things are improving, you know that you're getting closer to God, and it's not harming oneself, okay? It's almost the inverse of anything. It's feeling pain which has been trapped, that has already been felt for a long time. Like, there's a metaphor that I heard one time before, and I love it. I love this, which is like, imagine trauma as this really huge itchy sweater. And so you put it on, and it's really itchy, and you start itching, and it's really uncomfortable. And if this happens, but just like, metaphorically speaking too, if you just start to wear it just all the time, you don't even think about it. It becomes like a layer of your skin, and you're just itchy, and sometimes you even become unconscious of it, because it's so itchy, it's so uncomfortable. There's just like a numbness there. And in this case, let's say we step into the light, we become aware that we're wearing this itchy, horrible sweater, and it's hot outside, or we don't even need a sweater, so we take it off. And it is such a relief. It is such a relief. But that initial point of stepping into the light, when we recognize that, holy shit, I have a sweater on. And we'd been living with the sweater on for 10, 20, 30 years, depending on how old you are, right? Uh, and hopefully not that long, But taking off that sweater is so important. But in order to take off that sweater, we need to recognize that we're wearing a sweater. And part of that is then recognizing that we're uncomfortable. Because in that numbness, it seems like it might feel better. This is my interpretation of when they say ignorance is bliss. It's the illusion that that the path of numbness is going to grant us a peace, serenity, security. When from my experiences, it does not. Because there's this little kernel of consciousness which is always there. All right, and then it drives a choice forward. Do I step into the light, or do I go deeper into the darkness? In this case, into ignorance. Do I go number? So do I go number, or do I do the really hard choice? Do I step into this metaphorical natural light? Do I step into a place where I'm going to it's in a divine way, you guys, not in a bad way, but it's like divine judgment is what it is. It's opening oneself to divine judgment. Like this is why repentance ends up becoming such a big thing, It's because stepping into that light, we begin to reconnect with our heart. And then we begin to see how we treated others, how we were in our relationships. And it's so complicated. It's so complicated. It's really simple, but it's complicated in so much as, like this, to quote that, quote, right? Oh, this tangle web we weave, right? The relationships we have with our family, with our friends, with coworkers, with society, with authority figures, with certain archetypes, all of it. We begin to see it in a different lens. And repentance is like seeing that, wow, either this other individual or this aspect of myself, man, I really was not kind. I did not give what I wanted to receive. And it's painful at first, but it's worth it. Like, this is what I mean. The work is all, like, this work that I'm talking about. I'm trying to contextualize it, okay? When I say the work, this is what I mean. You just got to read between the lines, all right? But when we do this work, it is like a night and day difference. It is a night and day difference. And I'm not a perfect example of it, okay? I've done a lot of work. I really mean it. I've done a lot of work. If people have been trying to control me or do these other things with me, if it seems like it doesn't work, it's because I've done a lot of work. Okay, and that everybody can get to this point. Like, I'm not special. I'm not an alien. I'm not a messiah. I'm just some guy. All right, right. And if you're a male, like, so are you. All right, and if you're female, so are you. uh, if it's complicated, so are you. Because I get that, you guys. I absolutely get that. Okay, so yeah. Okay, 38:44, we're good. We're good. 40 minutes. This is going to be a long one, you guys. Okay. I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful you're listening to me. If you got this far in the video, give yourself a like, man. Subscribe to yourself. I mean, seriously. Seriously. You're I'll just say it, you're a bona fide badass, man. You made it this far? Yeah, man. Yeah. So, yeah, just a little quick thing. When I talk about the flip side, right? We were born into this, or we emerge into this world as emerging consciousness, right? Into a fucked up situation, all right? Into trauma. And that's how things start out. But when we flip it over, it changes everything, all right? And if anything, it's changing death into life. It's being an alchemist, all right, in a manner of speaking. It's really turning the pain and the trauma of our past into a meaningful origin story. And all of us can do this. All of us have this ability, and we're meant to. All right. And the way I see it, some people are going to wake up, all right, and start doing this. And other people are going to numb out and go further into that level of ignorance. And from me as an individual, there's no judgment. Like, I feel like I'm an old soul, all right? Like, I've done this a lot, you guys. I've done this a lot. And so, guess what? If I if I was hating on people who chose ignorance, I'd be hating myself in a very literal way. Because sometimes I've chosen that. Sometimes I might still choose that, all right? Um, I feel like I'm doing my best to gravitate more toward consciousness, you know, to not numb myself out, to, you know, heal, and then it gives us more power, and then it allows us to have joy, have peace, have those feelings, and then direct the current of those feelings rather than having the world dictated to us. We're not even dictating to the world. It's just like, wow, world, wow. Because that's a huge part. Like, imagine if you controlled everything, all right? Like, I know I'm getting off of 1414, but just like, oh my God. Just imagine controlling everything. How sterile is that? You know what's going to happen on every single moment because you're controlling it to happen that way. And so if that is how things are, I believe that there's this nuance that we're living in, and that's why the unknown is so important. We need to have a level of unknown in our life, all right? And rather than fearing this unknown, we love it, all right? And it's also equally important to have knowns in our life, all right? The caveat that I have there is any known that we have is a creation, all right? It is not an absolute. So I can know this and I can know that. And it's really, this is what I've created for myself. Sometimes we have to tear down that knowledge, all right? We have to go back into unknowing. And I'm working on stuff in so much as I feel like, man, I've been okay with unknowing. I've been in like a process of dissolution for a large part of it. But I'm finding also, especially nowadays, with making videos and getting more on task, I guess, knowing stuff is great. And I do know stuff. And I can know more stuff. And if that knowing ends up feeling limited to me, okay, I'll toss it out. I don't know that. It leaves open the space then. And hopefully you can read between the lines, all right? But anyway, this level of playing, all right? This level of playing with life, being able to be in touch with the inner child, still be a mature adult, still have capacity, all right? Not to be run by past traumas. That's the flip side. To be able to play, to have the inner child be able to play. And the mature adult can joyfully watch it. And then if it starts getting close to, a dangerous edge or something, the parent's there, all right? The internal parent is there saying, whoa, 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 do we really want to go down this way? And notice that I'm not controlling the inner child, all right? It's like asking the child, bringing the child awareness, do we really want to go down this way? And if it's from things of the past, especially when we recognize that it's like a diminishing kind of a thing, that it's the unflipped side. Oh, you don't need to fight the inner child. The inner child will run into your arms. All right. So we'll leave it at that. All right. Oh my God, so long. Almost 50-minute video. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thanks for being part of my journey as I'm part of yours. It's getting kind of windy. I hope the volume's okay. I'll check it. Hopefully I can post this. So peace out, you guys. I love you. I absolutely love you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for making it this far. We are warriors. Like anybody who takes on the mantle, all right, who chooses it in any capacity, no matter where you're at, if you choose to do the work, God bless you. You're making the world a better place, and you're making your life better. So yeah, all right. So yeah, peace out. Love within. Catch you guys on the flip side. right? Is you catch me.